Jamie, what's the status of what's going on with the city presently with the golf course? What's the expectation? What's the big problem? Some people may not even know that there's a big problem over there.
Well, right now, the city has, well, as of about a month ago, they issued another uh, letter to the developers. People were upset because the letter was different from other letters and that it said that the application was complete. But what I really want people to understand is that just because it's complete doesn't mean it's approved or that's going to get approved. There were a number of things that the city was still calling out to the developers for corrections on. Two of the big ones were the fact that it is a wetlands and there's a federal agency that recognizes there are two different wetlands on that property. And the other is habitat for endangered species, which in our community is the California mountain lion. And Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy enlisted MERCA to do an independent biologist report, which they did, and they submitted to planning. That report is, I believe, also going to be amended with new information. However, it seems despite all of this and despite this huge portfolio we put together with respect to mountain lions, and we know they're pretty ubiquitous around here. We have so much video footage, ring camera footage, declarations that were signed by people who have seen mountain lions even hunting on the golf course. However, I think planning is just being very cautious, much to the frustration of the neighborhood. This was why, we've been trying to work with the state and get some carve-outs from this legislation, because the amendments to AB 2011, as many people are aware now, took away any remaining protections that we would have had as a fire zone and a mountain lion community under AB 2011.
It's a thankless job in a lot of ways. Jamie, you've done a great job with working on this. Forgive me for not introducing you formally to it. Jamie is the president of the Woodland Hills Landwise Alliance, has been doing a lot of work on gaining this information and putting in a great deal of information to planning department. Been working with an attorney as well on trying to get things together on this so that our community is going to be protected. And I think that all that may not know us out there should be aware that this organization and others are not against development. We're against irresponsible development. And that's what this one amounts to. It doesn't belong here. This is the type of structures that are normally put out in commercial locations. Canoga Avenue is not a commercial zone, even though that's the way they're trying to define it. Anybody who's driven it know that that's not, could never be, and was never intended to be a commercial zone. Dumetz would be a commercial zone when you start looking at that too. You can't imagine that being a commercial zone through there, nor is there any reason for it. But we continue on with it. We'll see. Elise, are you online with us at all? I didn't see. If you are, put your hand up. I didn't see you online here, but if you are, let me know so we drag you in too. Jamie, keep your voice up too on this one. What do you expect to be the next step at this point? I know that the planning department has issued that the application is complete. What does that mean, and where are we going to go from here?
Well, it just means that the developers have taken care of all of the corrections that the building department requested. So there was missing information, forms, processes they hadn't gone through, track maps that were incorrect. So they've now submitted everything that's required under AB 2011 streamlined review. However, it does not mean the project is approved by any means. There's still a list of stuff that has been deemed incomplete or inconsistent. And like I said earlier, one of the main things called out was habitat and wetlands. There were also issues with DOT and the fact that the developers had not provided information to DOT so that they could determine certain statutes that they need to look at with respect to by right approvals. There is, this was interesting, the plot plan that the developers submitted had all of the affordable units squished down on one end of the development, and then they had market rate condos and houses at the other end. And that's in violation of our zoning codes. When you have, you know, affordable housing, those units need to be mixed in. They can't be segregated out from other units. So they have to be mixed and mingled with the market rate buildings and structures. The developers have been asked multiple times to correct that. They still have not corrected it. It would take time to correct that. They will have to redo their entire site plan and all their specifications for that. But it's, so there are details like that that are still outstanding that have been deemed incomplete. The part I'm struggling with is why the planning department just doesn't make a decision on this. And I think it is because they're afraid of getting sued because of vesting. And, you know, I think they have to kind of pick their battle or pick their lawsuit. You know, they're going to get sued probably one way or the other.
Yeah, the letter that was sent out by them is about 37 pages long. I think there's about 4 or 5 areas that are either in not compliance or there's some questions about whether they are in compliance on those particular items.
Yeah.
So I guess what it amounts to is it's not done yet. And I think what was some concern to us initially when this all came about, by the way, back in Thanksgiving time, was that by the first of the year that this is going to be a done deal and be over with. And obviously you can see it's not. It's a very long process for everybody to go through. It's very detailed to it, what have you. The ultimate approach to it is that they really need to have input from the community as to what's going on there and have a CEQA analysis being done as well to see if there's alternatives to what they're doing, what the impact is going to be on the community, and what can be done to protect us. And as I've mentioned before, that I'm upset with the fact that those of us that live up in this particular area have accepted those particular risks, but now they're increasing those risks that we have no input about, and that's kind of scary when you think about it. The roads up here are just not able to be evacuated if there was a fire that really caught up here, and to get fire trucks up here would be terrible with it. Jamie, what's going to be where do you see the next step at this point in time? I know that you've been in contact with the governor as well to try to get them to do something. Where do you see us going? And are we going to ultimately end up in litigation at some point, either with us or with the developer end up with litigation? Where do you see this going?
Well, I mean,
Give your voice, of course, too.
yeah, our goal all along has been to try to restore some of the controls, you know, in any way we could to the planning department, because I don't think anybody thinks that this is a smart development. You know, you couldn't be in your right mind to think that plunking high density development in a severe fire zone that's also a wildlife habitat next to conservancy land is a good idea. So I think, you know, it's just giving, I don't know, I'm sure planning is meeting with the city attorney and they're talking about all this. But, you know, with respect to Sacramento and the governor, what we're asking for is a carve out on this legislation, because the amendments were, you know, we agree with Bob Bloomfield. They were clearly carved out specifically for this project. We talked to an attorney who is a former big lobbyist on a national level. And I said, what do you think of this legislation? And he said, oh, clear as the nose on your face, this was carved out specifically for this project. So these developers have endangered our community with this legislation, which in our minds is also, you know, in violation of the California Constitution. Now that's very hard to prove and very hard to try. So we're just trying to give planning confidence hopefully through a carve out from the governor. And if the mayor can help us with that, I'm not going to say what the carve out is, but it's a very, very narrow carve out. It probably only affects this particular project in the entire state of California. Not too many projects are even using these amendments right now. Doesn't mean they won't. But there's, I think there's only one other one, and it's in Woodland Hills, ironically in LA, where the developers were trying to put in a high density senior housing project in a high fire zone, and the planning department had said no, and it had stalled out, and they sort of withdrew the application. And then when these amendments came up, they resubmitted, and now it's a thing. And I just can't imagine how do you evacuate elderly people in a wildfire with oxygen tanks and wheelchairs and, all the rest? I mean, people have to realize as frustrating as the planning department can be. And I know this because I work in building and property development. I know I've been up against them. They are in some ways a consumer protection agency. And Sacramento has completely ignored this fact because they have been lobbied to the nth degree by big development. And big development is a very well-oiled machine with a lot of money.
If anybody has any questions, I'd like for you to raise your hand. So, by the way, there's another group that's out that's working on that we're talking about with Elise and with Jackie. It's called the Woodland Hills Neighborhood Collective. Between the two organizations, they've done a marvelous job of putting together information here. I see, Ali. If you've got any input to that as well. But again, if anybody's got questions, put your hand up. So I just knocked one hand down because I wanted to make sure this wasn't a leftover. We got questions about this, even comments. Let me know. I know, Marty, you were out at that meeting with the mayor too. If you got any comments concerning that, we'll take those as well. Ali, anything from you at all?
So it's Alex. Sorry,
Alex,
it's Ali.
Alex, I'm going to have to do it because I see the Ali there, and I'm going. I know it's not the right name, but
and it's every so, yeah, I know. I'm like the best looking Ali you've ever seen, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So I'm representing the collective, and one thing I wanted to let people know that are on the Zoom is to go to the website whneighbors.com/event-info. That's whneighbors.com/event-info. And that's for the meeting next week where we're going to be getting a little more information. Jamie has done a really good job of explaining where we are and kind of where we're going with things. It is a very serious place that we're in right now. Again, a lot of it pivots on what the planning department is going to do, just like Jamie is talking about. And unfortunately, it's behind a firewall. So we don't know, as much as we ask them, we don't know what the tone is over there. We don't know the discussions that they have with the city attorney. So we just kind of work as hard as we can to give them all the tools that we can to be able to make the right decision. And, again, like everyone said, we wanted to reiterate that this isn't a NIMBY thing. This is a let's have responsible development thing. And like I was trying to explain to the mayor, having to evacuate and using this route as an evacuation, it would be impossible with 900 more vehicles. There would just be no place to go. So that's all I had to say.
Marty, did you have something you wanted to add in? You were there with the mayor at that point. You're going to mute yourself if you do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask those who are involved in this if they brought up the issues of having the landowners slash the new developers pay for the roads, pay for new electricity, subterranean, pay for new water access to the entire area, and pay for all of the other infrastructure needs, because it seems like the city is being asked to bear the expense for all of this. And the guys who own the land and the guys who bought the land don't seem to be culpable for anything or have a responsibility for anything. And I think that's an area that perhaps the mayor can push on and see if our legislators in Sacramento can build something to insist that these people bear the financial responsibility if they put this in, and perhaps even the insurance responsibility. That may persuade them not to push forward on this. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a continuing effort that we're going to have to undertake here on it. Jamie, you're in the midst of it all in this process, and keep up the good work on it. Again, we're looking for any questions anybody might have. Otherwise, I think that for today, we've given at least some background as to what's going on. There's nothing that's happening immediately at this stage, but we have to keep our eyes and our ears open to what's going to end up happening. And if we get into litigation on this, it's pretty tough. You may remember that the Woodland Hills Homeowners Organization was in litigation with Westfield over the village many years back, and it was many years of litigation and quite a bit of expense and quite a bit of headaches and what have you. And we finally got it resolved. And we'd like to say that the gas station looks the way that it does over there, and because what it was going to look like before was not going to be halfway decent, along with a number of other things that were going to go on concerning the arenas and what have you. But nonetheless, we work on these areas out here. We've always been in the forefront of trying to make sure it's going to happen. I'm very pleased to see that the organizations, both with the Woodland Hills Landwise Alliance as well as the collective, have really stepped forward and have done a fabulous job. They really have. You have no idea what amount of work goes into this, and you should all do whatever you can to give them as much support as you possibly can on that.
Could I add one more thing?
Please, keep your voice up now so we hear.
Yeah, what I wanted to mention is I'm actually going to send an email out later to our mailing list about this. But we are trying to get as many people to sign up as possible because what we've done is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with TSEP up in Topanga. It's Topanga, it's basically their emergency coalition. It's an amazing organization that has been around for several decades. It started when I first moved to Topanga, and right around the time of the fire back in the 90s, when we realized there were no community warning systems, and they over the years have figured out some incredible processes that they put in place to really get their city or their community organized in the event of a fire. So in working with them, I have now managed to get the Girard track folded in as part of TSEP. So we will now be part of their emergency preparedness, evacuation warnings. They are actually supervising part of the controlled burn that's happening up on San Maria Road this week. So it's a huge resource. We're gonna have a community meeting at some point with them, and they're gonna talk about how they can help us get organized as a community, so that we're not milling around out in the street going, do we evacuate? Do we not evacuate? Because we didn't get warnings last time with the Palisades fire. We were minutes away from evacuation, and we never even got a warning.
Well, that's good because we've got to have an evacuation plan up here. We've been trying to work with LAPD as well as with the fire department so they can coordinate amongst themselves on working out an evacuation program so that they know where each of them need to be going to if something happens up here, where the staging areas are going to be, where the major routes are that they can get so those who don't get blocked up, and they keep those open. I mean, we have some areas up here that if the fire trucks try to go in to get to a fire hydrant, they're going to block up the road. Nobody can get by them either direction. And while they're trying to fill up at that location, they get other locations where it would not have that kind of a problem. So
and Topanga has similar topology and streets to what we have.
Yep.
And the TSEP is very entrenched with police, sheriff, and fire. So they're kind of on the front line. They've been working with these guys for years, and now we get to loop in and be part of all that, which is going to be great.
Well, let's all of us continue to work together, put our heads together, come up with different ideas, and let everybody know if they've come up with some other ideas too. We're always looking for those great ideas to be able to get this stuff to work. But at this point, I think that we are finished up for this evening. I want to thank all of you for joining with us. I'm sorry, we have David's got a hand up. David, go ahead.
Hi there.
David.
I'm working on a letter about 5353, and I just need I'd like to have a transcript if I could, or a recording if it's available.
Yeah, this will be up. You're talking about the mayor's as opposed to this portion.
No, actually, this portion is more relevant to 5353.
Okay. We will put up both of them. We'll separate it out. They'll be this will be online. Today's Wednesday. I would say probably by Monday at least. I would put this over to our tech people tonight, and hopefully they'll be able to separate it out. We'll get it up in a couple of days on our website.
we're gonna send this letter out probably on Friday, so I'll just
Okay.
have to do what I can with my notes.
All right, well, let's see what we can
John-
do.
John?
Ari, go ahead, Ari.
Yeah, John, I'll have a transcript tonight to you, and you can forward it.
You'll have a transcript, or you want, or are you talking about the video?
I'll have as soon as you send both, I'll do the transcript and I'll send it to you.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll send it over to you tonight as soon as we finish up. Make sure
How
that
will
it's
I get it? How will I get it?
You go over to the Woodland Hills Homeowners Organization.
Probably not.
I'm sorry?
Probably not. I just started getting involved because of the problem at 5353. So I'm kind of new.
Go over to our website, WHHO.com, and it'll be posted there. Okay. Does that work for you?
Got it. WHHO.com.
Right.
Good. Because there were a few very good ideas that need to be incorporated into our letter.
I will hopefully get that over to you tonight. As soon as we finish up for now, I will end up doing. I'm sorry, what was that? No. Yeah, I was just reminded, it is a .com. It's not a .org. So it's WHHO.com. Anyway, it'll be there, and I will, as soon as we finish up right now, I will send this over to Ari, and Ari will end up regenerating it and telling me where it is, and I'll send it to you. It'll end up eventually being over on YouTube. We have a channel over at YouTube for the homeowners organization too. So you can do that if you want to go look at WHHO over at YouTube. You can find it over there. But the easiest, it'll come as soon as it comes to me from being on that, I'll post it up on the homeowner site so we get that out to you. Okay.
Many thanks.
Okay. Listen, any other questions from anybody? This is the time to do it. Otherwise, I'd like to say good night to everybody and thank you for everybody who participated with the mayor out here. I think she is interesting on some of the subjects that are out here. Maybe she's got a different idea of what we need out here, and we'll actually do something about it. Hopefully that'll be the case. And anyway, I say good night to you. Please be blessed. Take care of your families. Take care of yourself, and continue to do your work to protect our community, make it even better than it is presently. Thank you. God bless.